This podcast is an expression of the personal views and opinions of the hosts and guests, and they do not represent the official stance of the podcast, its sponsors, or affiliated organizations. The podcast may cover topics such as drugs, mental illness, politics, and religion, which can be controversial or sensitive. The podcast does not support any illegal activities and advises listeners to seek help from appropriate professionals for any personal concerns related to these topics. The information provided in the podcast is for general informational purposes only, and it is not a substitute for professional advice. Listeners are urged to consult with a qualified healthcare professional for any questions regarding their mental or physical health. The podcast and its creators are not responsible for any loss or harm resulting from the use or reliance on the information provided in the podcast.
Turn my mic up.
What's up, Street Stoics, and welcome back to the Street Stoic Podcast. I'm your host, Nate. We got the other host, Jay, here. Jay, how you doing tonight?
Living the dream.
Well. Living the dream, bro. I love it. Yeah, guys, tonight, Mike isn't going to be joining us. His 40th birthday is tomorrow, so he's a little bit busy prepping some food and stuff for a big party tomorrow. So it's just going to be Jay and I tonight. The plan for this episode is going to be just a couple of quotes. Jay has picked a quote. I picked a quote. These are kind of quotes that have stuck out to us kind of in our current totality of circumstances, our current life. And so we're going to discuss the quotes, kind of what they mean to us, maybe get some back and forth, and we're going to try to make this one a quick one. All right, Jay, you want to start us off with your delicious quote?
Let me just first start off with how I even got to this quote. So, like I do with a lot of things, if I don't really know what to even pick, I'll just ask ChatGPT and see what it can provide. And I asked it to provide a few quotes, particularly on time, meaning just anything in regards to just time. And for some reason, in between some of those quotes, something popped up that I didn't think was particularly regarding time, but it was something else that I decided, okay, I think that's what I want to go with. So once I did select this quote, I do, my due diligence. I go and make sure that what ChatGPT is actually providing is legit. And what we've been finding out lately is that it is not. It sometimes sometimes throws some stuff out there that is not accurate. So the quote that it presented to me here, it says, "Money is like any other external thing. It is of no importance to happiness unless we make it so." And it wanted to tell me that it was an Epictetus quote. I still kind of asked it further questions just to find out how it got to it. And it pretty much apologized and said it was just some paraphrasing and some restate. It gave me some BS response as to why it gave me that.
Yeah, buddy.
But yeah, this quote and the reasons why it stuck out to me, especially like more now and more recent. I think I'm at that point where I've, again, like realizations of life that things that I always thought when I was growing up, as far as once I'm able to get more money, once I'm able to be able to have money to purchase certain things, that's when I'm going to be happy. I had a misconception in my mind as to how money was going to equate to my happiness eventually. And now, having possibly, let's say, started earning a pretty good sum of money compared to what I used to, and realizing that regardless of how much money, you're always going to accrue some other form of problems that come along with it, because there's new issues that come with making more money. Because once you start making more money, then you start wanting to purchase things that require you to spend more money on. Like if you're trying to, buy a house, you're trying to purchase a car, all those type of things that we feel that we need to purchase. As we make more money, then it's two cars, and it's stuff like that that just keeps adding up, right? So there's always another issue. I guess Biggie Smalls said it, right? More money, more problems is pretty much the motto
That's
here.
right.
So
Yeah, buddy.
yeah, I realize that now, right? That money money can provide a lot of things, but we don't uh, we don't need to, or we shouldn't either, associate it with our happiness. Happiness is whatever we decide we focus on, right? Happiness is stuff that can be priceless. Things like time spent with someone, right? Back on the topic of time. Just the time that you can spend with somebody that you'll never get, because this present moment is just once. So you never know when you'll have that again. You can time spent with kids, time spent with, your family, friends, whatever it is. That can be happiness, right? Small things. It can be nature walks, it can be working out, stuff like that, right? Can be happiness. It pretty much tells me, as a reminder that, hey, don't always focus on, trying to obtain more money, because at the end of the day, everybody's trying to do that, right? Somehow, in some way, we're still trying to figure out a way to try to get more money. But some of us need to know not to get lost in that, right? In that pursuit, because it's not the solution for happiness. Happiness is what we decide. So regardless of what the journey is to obtain that, try to keep yourself happy apart from the chase of that money.
Yeah, without a doubt. I was thinking as you were talking, and I think I've said it before, but right now I'm doing that 75 hard challenge, and this is the longest streak I've made without messing it up. I think I'm on day 13 or 14.
Nice.
Uh, yeah, but I am like 51 days into this challenge or something. So like I'd almost be done if I didn't mess it up. And so it's been getting tough, man. I'm getting more tired with school, work, and adding that, and still trying to balance everything. Like there's the free time is getting smaller and smaller, and some days it feels like there isn't any free time. And I was the other morning, it was yesterday morning, the morning before, I was listening to some motivational video while I was working out, because I had the case of the I don't wanna, and the motivational video said that our most valuable resource here on the planet, or in this galaxy, is time. And I was just like, that's 100% right, and that's why I think it's cool you're looking up something about time. And I think it almost kind of makes sense that the money thing happened is because so many people are, like you got those people like, oh, money doesn't buy happiness. And then you got other people like, nah, but it can buy me a blah, 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 right? And man, the thing is like, you got to listen to all those successful people that are speaking, right? Like how to get more money and how to do it quick and how to be super rich, and listen to what they're saying. You have to put in the work. With anything you do, success-wise, success is earned, right? Or like David Goggins likes to say, you have to build your resume every day. You have to keep doing something better. And so if you want more money, I think the thing is people aren't afraid of failing. They're afraid of hard work. And they realize when some people, you watch them, they get close to the finish line and then they stop. And everybody's like, that one's got a fear of failure, whatever. And I don't think it is, or like this fear of success. I think it's a fear of hard work, because you realize that once you're on top, you now have to work harder to stay on top. And if you want to improve your position, you want to go above that, you've got to work even harder than that. And I think that's what scares people. And if you put it that way, and you listen to that person that says that time is our most valuable resource, then how do you spend your time? What will make you happy? Some people, maybe that is money. I have a feeling towards the end of their lives, though, I bet they were wishing it was a little bit different. You know what I mean? Because it takes a lot of work. You listen to all those people, especially in those, what do they call those, pyramid schemes?
MLMs.
And they put on those seminars. What is it?
MLMs, multi-level marketing.
Yeah, those. And, people can make good freaking money off those. You can. I know people that have, personally. And then they go to these seminars, they get you to go to these seminars, and they got some, like, whatever level they're calling it, diamond's a popular one, or they use platinum and, like, all this stuff. And, whoever's up there is like, hey, if you want to be this, you got to put in the work. And they're 100% right. But are you going to be a slave to that paycheck? You know what I mean? Like, if you're paying yourself every day, how much money is your time worth? Because you only get this one life, like Jay's saying, rather. And it's like, how do you want to spend it? Money doesn't maybe equal happiness. And I think for most it doesn't. So, yeah, man, dude, I'm glad that you picked that one. That got my mind rolling.
Yeah, it definitely puts it into perspective that that there's more. There is a disconnect, right? You don't have to make those two associate with each other, happiness and money. That there's things outside of out of money that can provide happiness. There's people in other countries that have poverties, and you go there and you find them happy and enjoying life, and they don't realize that they don't have anything. They do, they realize that, but they're happy. They're not requiring, or they're not depressed because they don't have the money to obtain it, because they don't associate that. They don't associate their happiness with money. I mean, and it's odd, right? Because when you see that and you see it how it is here in the U.S., it's like, damn, completely different. Because people here stress out and get depressed, or whatever depression is, and then that's who they become. They become this person that's always upset, negative, because they don't have enough money to be able to purchase. And I guess that also leads to cultural our cultural society that we have, or the different cultural societies that we have in this country, where it's about materialism, flat out. This country is pretty much built on that, about materialism, about purchasing more things. I mean, that's why we have such a great credit system here that allows that. But people fall into it and then get themselves into situations that they dig themselves so deep that they can't get out. And
Yep.
that's because it's like the dopamine stuff we talk about, right? Where it's like instant gratification, you're instantly purchasing something and it doesn't last long. That feeling, because I've been there too, like the feeling of the new shirt that you just bought and you get to wear it once or twice and then it's just a regular shirt again.
Oh.
So it's like, I just spent $50 on this item that now just sits in my closet, and now I have to decide to purchase a new one because I feel like I need to have something newer than that. So it's an ongoing cycle. And boy, once you figure it out that life's not all about that, about having to look a certain way, it's easy. It's easy to make that disassociate that happiness from money, because it's like whatever. I'm happy with myself. I don't care what other people, think as far as what I'm wearing or whatever my look is at a certain time of the day. So yeah, man, it's interesting. I just think about that, how a lot of people can't figure that part out.
Yeah. Dude, while you were talking, so I could remember something because you said something that made me want to speak about it a little bit more. I got this buddy at work, Nolan, and he makes you cross your fingers so you can remember. And it works. It works, man. So I'm going to uncross because I'm about to vent. But yeah, I think when we're talking about dopamine, the way I understand it is actually when we get those instant gratification moments, that's actually serotonin, and the dopamine is the thing that makes you want to work hard, and so I think what happens is people get used to those instant amounts of serotonin. You know, the way that the U.S. designed app systems, other countries design apps for the U.S. because they're used internationally, but they design them differently for the U.S. because they know what works for us. They got those algorithms down. And the thing is just like money, right? When they say money can't buy happiness, what they're talking about is when you start being able to get anything you want, every time you get that thing, you get serotonin, right? And it's serotonin, and there's no dopamine, right? Maybe there's a dopamine a little bit because you got to like pull up the website or pull up your Amazon account, and then you got to load some points or you got to put in your card info. But then bam, dude, next thing you know, it's there today, it's there tomorrow, 2 day shipping, whatever. And you get the serotonin open in the box and everything, and you get that new thing. And then next thing you know, you're like, fuck, what happened? Like, I don't even use that. It's been sitting in my garage for the last 5 years. And where was the dopamine? The dopamine is what makes you hungry for more. And the reason I loved that so much is if you're cool with it, I'd love to transition straight into my quote because I think this will blend seamlessly.
Go ahead.
So the quote that I have for us tonight is from Seneca. And he says, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Right? And this is one I've been dealing with every day for the past 50 or 51 days, however long I've been doing this, multiple times a day, trying to accomplish all these tasks plus my normal tasks. And before I go to do a task, because I'm getting tired, because I'm exhausted, I didn't sleep good, I skipped a meal, whatever. I I get this in my mind. I have the case of I don't want to, like I said earlier. And it's because in my imagination, I'm like, dude, this is going to suck. This is going to be terrible. Woe's me. And freaking, I go and do it anyways. Because that's a discipline part. I hate it when people talk about extrinsic and intrinsic motivation and fuck all that shit. You just do it anyways. And we can maybe do another episode on that later. But yeah, but for right now, like I've been suffering before I go and do the thing. And check it out, like every morning, my alarm clock goes off at 3:45 in the morning. And I get up and I'm like, I don't want to. And I make my morning concoction of emergency. I take my allergy pill and creatine, guzzle that down. I read the daily Stoic for today, slap that down. And I'm like, I don't want to. And I slowly put on my shoes. And I'm trying to reason with myself, like, you don't have to. The bed's right there. You could fall asleep on the couch. Nobody would ever know.
1 more hour.
And then, well, yeah, 1 more hour. 5 more minutes. It sounds so nice. And I fucking just get out here anyways. And I'm like, I don't want to. I literally do it right here. And I start stretching out. I'm like, well, I'll take a minute stretching out. Maybe because of how long I take, I'll only do half the workout because I got to go to work. That'll be my excuse. I'm like pre-planning it. And then I do that first set. And that's when dopamine hits. And I'm like ready to freaking go. I put on motivational whatever. I put on freaking some heavy metal or what, I don't know what genre people are calling it now. It's probably classical now because of how old it is. And I just bang it out. I start banging it out and it feels good. And the minute I'm done and I'm walking back inside my house, I get that serotonin hit. And I'm like, this is what it's about. But I earned it. And then I go to the next task and the same thing happens. I don't want to. And then I do it anyways. Get that dopamine. I'm building it. And then I get the serotonin hit. And what I've noticed is, trying to utilize that model from David Goggins about the everyday resume thing is the more I tell myself I don't want to, the harder I'm going to make the workout, the longer I'm going to go, the heavier the weights are, the more reps I'm going to do, the more sets I'm going to do. And it's just been progressively getting harder and harder and harder. And, I think it's probably a Navy SEAL thing, I think, where they say the only easy day was yesterday. And that's literally what I've been kind of living by, and not by intention, but because my imagination keeps getting the better of me, and I don't like fucking letting that shit get over the top. I'm gonna push it down and do it no matter what. And yeah, dude, freaking, yep, that's how it goes, man. That's how it goes.
I'm gonna twist that thing a little bit. Your quote into something as far as like imagination, and something that I've heard as far as death, right? And I've heard it mentioned in regards to like something people do daily kind of thing. And for me, it just seems so weird that it happens daily and it's always something different. And it's just shedding a little bit of insight here on some of the weird stuff that goes through my mind sometimes.
Yeah.
One of the things that I ponder on about in regards to death daily is this usual random thought that comes to mind, and it's always the most severe type of death that can happen to anyone around me. And it's like a self-reflection, right? It's the thought of this incident happening, and how would I or how would my family react in this situation? It's very, very strange, right? So it's like I'll have this thought of like, oh, I get in a car accident and then I'm no longer the bread earner, right? I'm not, there's no one here to provide for my family. So what happens in that situation, right? So it's thoughts like that, like what would happen if something happens to one of my daughters? It's situations like that, those negative situations, but I don't take them as like, oh my God, it's gonna happen. It's more of a self-reflection of understanding that this could happen. This has happened to people before randomly. It can randomly happen to you. Just be aware that this could happen. Not to say that it is, but be prepared in case it does. Because you will have to keep still your composure to deal with this situation, regardless of what it is. And so, when it for things like that happen, right? As bizarre as it sounds that it happens to me kind of daily, it's a very helpful and enlightening to me to always be able to find that grounding moment of, oh shit, yeah, that's right. It centers me in a bit because it keeps me understanding that time is not to be wasted. So appreciate it through this message of this shit can happen to you. So appreciate every single moment that you have right now, presently.
Bro, I thought you said you were more of a more fate guy, but what you just described is Memento Mori.
Yeah, well, I think I did say I was Memento Mori.
Did you?
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought on that episode.
I don't know. We said both. I mean, at the end of the day, it's both.
Yeah.
But yeah, lately,
yeah.
I mean, it's I stick to Memento Mori because, man, when it comes to time and death, man, that's where it makes me appreciate that the fact that
Exactly.
That's why now I feel a little bit more motivated towards the things that I really want to accomplish. As far as finding that, like we've been, talking off air about certain things that I have planned, and we'll talk
Yeah.
about that later on whenever it does start happening. We'll give it some time. But yeah, I've like I've told you, I've narrowed it down. I'm pretty focused on what exactly it is that I want to do, what we have to do to get there, and I feel like, okay, we can't waste more time. We need to get this accomplished soon. So that's why it's all happening very very soon. And yeah, man, I'm focused right now. I'm trying to one step after the other and trying to get everything in motion to get it done, because it's now or never, right? It's because we don't know how much more time we have. So I'm trying to get this ball
Yeah.
rolled and started, and see what we can come up with, man.
Yeah. There's never a perfect
Yeah.
time. Yeah. You'll never be ready. Just got to jump. And listening to what you were saying, and I know you said, I can't remember if you said it was weird or odd or whatever, but I do that too. I almost exactly how you're describing it. Probably just looks different families and stuff, and different imaginations. But I started doing that when I started adapting Memento Mori into my life. And I don't remember where I found the structure, but when I designed my own little outline for journaling, I had a quote, a Stoic quote for each day of the week. And on Tuesdays, I got this one pulled up here, and it's from Marcus. And it says, the title of it is Prepare Yourself for Negativity. And the quote actually goes, I know that these wrongdoers are still akin to me, and that none can do me harm or implicate me in ugliness, nor can I be angry at my relatives or hate them, for we are made for cooperation. And that one, when I first started looking into it, I had to kind of research and stuff, and I started getting into what's called negative visualization for the morning. And in the mornings, I give myself a few moments to focus on what bad could happen in my day, how bad could things go, and I try to prepare myself to meet those. So not if, but when those things come up, I'll already have a plan kind of in mind of how I'm going to handle them. And since I've already thought about them and kind of met my emotions with that, when they do happen, I'm more inoculated to that stress, and I'm able to keep a more level head um, going forward, because, you know, it's almost like you've already been there, but just with your imagination. A little preparation never hurt nobody.
Yeah,
I think,
it's odd how that actually like works, right? How we can have those moments to reflect like that, but then it helps us kind of ground us. It helps us be more understanding and be more of like, okay, I have to make sure that I'm aware that this situation can happen, so I gotta. It forces you to go into action, pretty much. Like, okay, I have to stop messing around and making sure that I put work in, this situation, put time to this situation, because you never know.
right. And it also made me think of another quote that I like from Seneca, which is luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. And so, you're lucky to be able to overcome things like that, but it takes a fair amount of preparation in order to do so successfully. You know what I mean?
Yeah. ChatGPT once again fails us, or fails me. So I'm trying to
Oh,
pull up
shit.
here a quote here for us to discuss here about death, right? And I found a nice one, and
Yeah.
apparently it belongs to the American poet and writer Thich Nhat Hanh, whomever that is. This particular quote
Okay.
states, "We are all in the process of dying, but how many of us are truly living?" Right?
Yeah.
And it's a good question, right? Because what is life? What is actual life? Pretty much the existing of life and the content of being a part of life here. It doesn't seem lately like there's a lot of people actually living to their own potential and living to accomplish they're not, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like people are driven anymore to do things, to accomplish things, or they have desires but have no understandings of how to put that into action, how to make that work. And it's quite sad and scary at the same time, right? Because it's like, because I understand, like I have a full understanding of why this is all happening, right? So a lot of people just aren't learning this process from from school, from childhood. They're not being taught that you have to put in work, you have to go through the grind sometimes to get things done, to accomplish goals. It is not just that we say, I want to become this, I want to do this, I would like to be able to do that, and not actually put in the work and time and effort and everything that goes into achieving that. And also understanding that you may fail in that process, and that's not where you just stop and give up. And I think a lot of people have given up, and that's it. Like they're just coasting through life, right? Spending countless of hours, you know, whatever vice you want to throw out there, right? Fill in the
Right.
blank, drugs, TV, whatever other thing they keep their time occupied with that distracts them and keeps them away from their goals. Are you really living at that point? Are you?
Right.
It's what kind of life is that? I mean, that's the situations where I think about those stories about, you know, older generations on their deathbed and things that they say and they reflect on. It's very common, and that's scary, that a lot of people say they wish they would have been able to do fill in the blank
Yeah.
with,
Without a doubt.
they wish they would have been able to spend more time, fill in the blank.
Yep.
And that's a scary thought, to think that life, the one life that you have right now in this existence, you get to the end, and the only thing you have is, I wish I would have blank.
Yep.
It's sad, man. It's sad, and it's scary to think that so many people get to that point. And that's now, with that scary feeling, is what actually I turn into a motivation, right? So I don't want to ever end up in that situation.
Right.
So to
Yeah.
me, it's like, that's the stuff that gets like things revved up in me. I don't want to end up ever having to have that happen to me. So I'm gonna just go. That's it.
Yep.
That's how I treat
Yep.
it. That's how I see it. That's not where I want to end up. So I'm going to do what needs to be done to not end up like that, feeling like that, having that regret. And that's life, living.
Yep. And something that I want to say, because I think it's a correction for what you said, but I believe almost without a doubt that it's what you meant. And it's not that we may fail at something, it's we will fail. Failure is a part of success. And if we're doing something that's hard, you better expect to freaking fail. And it's a learning opportunity. You know what I mean?
I was just taking into account those lucky motherfuckers that get it right the first time.
I think if somebody's a lucky motherfucker that gets it right the first time, one, we just define luck as when preparation meets opportunity, so they prepared for it, so they're not as lucky as people think. Two, if they get it right the first time, they probably weren't trying that hard, and that means that they could do something even better than what they came up with that time. And so that means that they set their goals a little bit too low, just in my mind.
No, you're completely right. I've seen that happen too. I've seen it where people are in the place that they outshine everyone around them, but that's not the room that they need to be in. They can be in different
Right.
rooms amongst a different crowd of people that will appreciate that type of person for the things that they have, the knowledge that they bring, and all this effort that they bring. I've seen it. I've seen it in a lot of places.
Yeah.
People that they're just grounded because they're comfortable in that situation, and I mean, I don't understand too far of that. Whether that's a personal thing, like I just rather be the best here amongst these people, or if it's just that they're stuck, that this is as good as they feel that they're gonna get.
Yeah. I mean, or they're addicted to that sense of being good or whatever. Because I'll tell you what, man, when I was competing in certain competition, certain sporting competition, we did this thing called squatting, and I knew because I've been going so much which squads were. Let's say subpar to the performance that I was envisioning myself get to. And if I squatted with those people, I would be first place in that group, but I wouldn't be beating myself and I wouldn't be pushing myself. It was only when I started to squad with a group of people who were competing at the top level, I was at the bottom of that pack. I was at the bottom of that group. But overall, I was beating myself every time, every single time, because it caused me to try harder, to go faster, to be more efficient, to work harder. And if I just kept, competing with the lower standard group, yeah, I might get first place out of that group, but it's not pushing me to my goal of being the best, internationally or anything like that. So, yeah, I mean, I totally get what you're saying. Another thing that you were talking about is we always say we got one life, and maybe we've talked about this before. It just reminded me of another quote, but it's actually from Confucius. So I've been reading a version of The Art of War. I think I picked this one up, or no, I think a buddy of mine, Brandon Walther, picked it up for me at a Costco, and it's The Art of War and some other like Eastern Asian writings, and so Confucius is in there, and Confucius was quoted saying, "We have two lives, and the second one begins when we realize we only have one." And to me, that was kind of my transition before Stoicism and after. Because how many people, as we talked about previously, are living those comfortable lives? It's truly binary decision making that we have. And we want to tell ourselves that as a human race, we're so sophisticated that we have more than yes or no responses. And you have to remember, we know what is right and wrong, right? And there are very few people that don't know what that is. And I work with quite a few of them in the nature of my job. But everyone else outside of those walls, we know what's going to make us better and what isn't. And it's a yes or no decision. You have two paths to take. You can take the path of hard work, and that'll get you there, Or you can take that path that looks easier and it's paved and it's not going to even get you close. It might take you back to the parking lot. You know what I mean? And man, dude, once you decide, you have to make that decision. You have to be disciplined no matter how you're feeling. And that's why I love Stoicism. It's not a lack of emotions. Stoics aren't emotionless, as you've all been able to experience over the course of our episodes. We get pretty emotional, but it's utilizing them when it matters. Focusing our energy to propel ourselves forwards. We want to be choosing the right path. And just as Plutarch wrote about that story about the old man wandering the Olympic Games, and he's being jeered out by the crowd and stuff, and it was only when he got to the Spartans that the Spartans, both younger and older, were offering him their seat. And once he took a seat, the crowd cheered, and he looks up to them and he says, all Greeks know what is right, but only the Spartans do it. And so for me, the Spartan mentality is using that binary decision making. And is it a yes or is it a no? Am I going to do the thing that leads to my goals, to success, what I've defined as success and happiness? Or am I going to lie to myself? That's it, man. It's as simple as that. Yes or no? Yes or no. That's it. Do you want to do the right thing or do you want to do the wrong thing? And, we talked about kids in a recent episode and how we parent and stuff. And that's one thing we have to do with our kids. Teach them that the decisions they make are binary. Don't be making all the decisions for your kids. Offer them 2 decisions and let them pick. And if it's the wrong one, let them take the wrong path. And then be there to help them figure it out. Let them know it's okay. Sometimes we make the wrong decision. Now, what are we going to do next time? And that's actually what's going to teach them to be good adults. And even with that binary decision making, it doesn't matter your religion, your beliefs, your political stance, the laws in your area, whatever, that will still be adaptable to your demographic, your area, your belief system, your religion. It doesn't matter. That is the simplified tool that can be applied and adapted into everything. It doesn't matter your guiding principles. It's yes or no. Sometimes we say no to the wrong thing. And then we got to figure out, okay, how do I get back on the path? You got something, Jay? It looks like you itching to say it.
It's those understandings that the same thing that we talk about and the same type of descriptions and stuff that you were just mentioning with Spartans, it exists in history in different cultures in different ways. You could have said samurai, or you could have said Shaolin monk.
Yep.
You could have said any type of warrior mentality like that, right? That is discipline. It's pretty much this. It's at core, they all have the same thing, right? Mental control.
Yes.
And that's what you were trying to focus on, right? It's all about control of your mental, of your emotions, of knowing how to be able to take that in and balance that out, right? To be able to say, in this situation, I don't need to react this way. I can just be calm, be able to just talk and explain myself. And in this situation, I get the same thing achieved as if I were to just start yelling or react in a different way. And sometimes just reacting in that different way probably doesn't do any good to the situation. And we can see that a lot of times, how quick negative emotions can escalate a situation, just because a negative emotion with a negative emotion is just going to blow things up out of proportion. So it's instances like that, right? Just taking those type of philosophies, all those type of understandings of all these different type of cultures and those disciplines that people have taken to become that warrior mentality, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing at the end of the day, the core, the essence of things, right? And when the other thing that you were mentioning was that kind of moment in time that you come to that realization about virtues and stuff, and being empathetic with people, and having, more morals and stuff, right? Also also can be defined in different ways, right? Because the same thing that you were
Yep.
mentioning also sounds like what the description of a spiritual awakening is, where you are now
Yep.
more aware of how messed up our, everything is around us, where you see things
Yep.
and how people interact and how disassociated from just reality they are, where you see it and you're like, they're so out of tune and they don't realize that. They don't see that you actually need certain things in your life that is natural, is reality. Like we live on earth here where we have however X amount of time of sun, and people hide from it and then wonder why they're sick. Stuff like that. Where,
I just saw a shooting star, bro.
oh, nice.
That was sick.
Yeah, I was just recently
Dang.
seeing.
Sorry, dude.
All right,
Yeah, I was like, dang, I saw that for real.
I'll allow it for a shooting star, man. That shooting stars are
There
pretty
we
trippy.
go. Yeah, that was awesome.
What color was it?
Yeah. I don't know. I just saw the flash out of the corner of my eye, and when I looked over, I saw it just dive right past the tree there.
We must
So
be.
the sky was a little bright next to it, but that was awesome.
We seem to be getting bombarded with a lot of space junk recently.
I mean, it's been happening for years, bro.
More often now, it seems, or just we have too many people with cell phones and they're just posting it online, so everyone sees it as if it's more often
Yeah.
than before. Who knows?
Yeah, knowledge versus lack of knowledge. Awareness, I mean.
Yeah, man. At the end of the day, man, it's just the realization that, man, reality is what it is, right? And
Yep.
we get so caught up in just superficial things and not realizing that we have to just live in reality and understand that in other places, happiness is not attached to money, that caring about other people is very important, that it isn't always about yourself, that it doesn't, that, things, you have to put hard work at the end of the day. Life is hard. It's hard work every day till the end. So try to figure out a way to enjoy it, regardless of what it is, because there's some ounce of work that needs to be put in, whether it's physical fitness for yourself, maintenance to keep yourself balanced, or actual physical labor work to try to get something done. And sometimes it's mental, right? The process of
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
stuff and planning stuff, and looking at what your plan is, your vision, your goal, and taking every step into account that's going to lead you to that moment. All of that is the work that needs to be done in life. And life is constant work. So if you just sit there and you try to numb it down with, whatever it is to escape from the reality, then all you're doing is wasting time escaping from the reality every single time. You're wasting the time
Yeah.
that you should have had to put in that work to accomplish what you needed to get done.
Yep. Without a doubt. Man, this was solid, bro. This one turned out good.
Feeling like old times? It just us two?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that too. I think
In regards,
just not having three.
not
What's up?
not in regards to just us two, because this felt a little different also because it's now 13 episodes in, and I'm very
Right.
comfortable now with these, podcasts.
Yeah.
And up until even when Mike joined, I was still
Yep.
so yeah, it feels a
Yep.
little different too, just because it's us two, and also we both have, had that experience under our belt, and so now we're a lot more comfortable with the back and forth.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah, and so for the listeners or viewers or both out there, there was no preparation for this podcast episode. I just want everybody to know that. We've gotten that outline blueprint down in our minds, and we're able to throw something together. I know we missed recording, I think, last week.
Yeah, it feels like a long time now.
Yeah, for us, it's been 2 weeks since we've done this, but we're able to put it together and make it something valuable. And it's actually doing these podcasts helped me definitely reflect and analyze. It's almost a form of meditation.
Definitely.
I'm focusing on, yeah, it helps.
I call it.
I hope everybody enjoyed it.
Yeah, of course. That's the one thing. Obviously, we're hoping that listeners are tuning in when we see it. The numbers are going up, and that people are liking what they hear. They're enjoying the journey here with this podcast, because it's episode by episode we just provide more and more information. It's just stuff that helps you better understand things, and try to like this is it is what it is, right? We're trying to help people out there have a different way of thinking, a better perspective to view of life, to understand that we all may have some sort of common issues when it comes to certain things, and that just because you think you're battling these problems yourself, you're not alone. There's other people going through this. A lot of times it may seem that way. It's just because a lot of people don't talk about their problems. And
right.
That's why it definitely feels like that. It feels like meditation. It feels like therapy for us. I mean, I'm able to get a bunch of stuff that I think about off my chest, that also I feel more comfortable speaking on, because I know that I have actually been thinking about this through, in between recordings of podcasts, where it's like, okay, I have a better understanding of, this particular topic, and I'm able to just now be able to speak on it from, experience, my perspective, my understanding of it, and then be able to share that, whether that's something that people already know or it's new information. To me, it feels like revealing stuff, right? Like it's stuff that I feel that I have woken up to realizing more now than I did before, because before I felt like it was never something that I focused on. I never understood this type of stuff. I never, I didn't have the experience. I didn't have the training. I didn't have the teachings of this type of stuff. I wasn't exposed to it. So because of that, life felt hard. A lot of things felt difficult. I didn't know how to deal with certain things. And so kind of transitioning and learning things into this world of, self-help, motivations, stoicism, you name it. It's helped me better understand life, existence, to just enjoy it, pretty much, regardless of how stressful sometimes days can be, how difficult situations may be, how scary sometimes things may be perceived. At the end of the day, you take it day by day, right? Because you may wake up tomorrow and you might experience that whatever the problems that happened yesterday can easily be solved, right? Sometimes rest is all you need, and then you figure out a different way. Or sometimes you don't wake up at all.
Yep.
So just enjoy life, man.
That's right. Work hard.
Work hard, man.
All right, man.
I mean, and that's the one thing, right? Like, it's a weird thing that happens too with like hardworking people, and then they get to that point where they have to retire, and somehow they get to that point and they retire, and then shortly right after they pass away. Yeah. And I think it's because they were so stuck on hard work that they don't even know how to function in that type of environment of a sedentary life. I just hope people are out there enjoying this, man, and listening. And again, we see a few people listening, and we're enjoying that. I'm good. I'm content with that, and I'm happy that the message that we got is being spread out.
Yep.
And with that, I'll end it with happy birthday, Mike. I hope you enjoy your birthday.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, happy birthday.
We'll see you next
bro.
week.
Yep.
Peace.
Later.